the power dialer functionality, this is really, really cool. Now, I don't know the technical definition of a power dialer versus like a normal dialer, or what I would refer to as a three-way or a two-way dialer. If you've ever used Mojo is what I would call a two-line dialer or a three-line dialer, or what I used to call a power dialer. But some people, now that GHL has like this dialing functionality, some people refer to that as a power dialer. I don't know. I'll show you what this can do. I'll make the comparisons, and I'll contrast versus like Mojo. You know, right off the bat, if you've never used Mojo is like a call center rep's best friend. Mojo allows you to add leads via API or upload a list. And then with names and phone numbers, and then it is a multi-line dialer. And so with two lines, that just looks like you always have like whenever you get connected with somebody on one line, the other line is going to start dialing right away. And then they have like dead line messages. So for example, a triple dialer, you have three lines going. You have one line that's calling constantly. You have another line that's waiting. And then you have another line that if a call picks up, it connects to that. And you have a pre-recorded message that you can play where you can say, hey, sorry, I'm having phone problems. Let me call you back right now. So that on the off chance that you get two people to pick up at the same time, they like the experience is supposed to be seamless for them, and it's supposed to make it so that you can knock out an insane amount of calls. We did when we first started Empower, we dabbled in cold calling a little bit, and Mojo, we use the shit out of Mojo. We don't do any cold calling these days. However, we do have experience using that three-line, that triple-line dialer. My wife was on a real estate team here locally in Idaho. That's how I originally learned about it, was her calling expireds and whatnot. Really, really cool thing. So I throw all that out there because if you are watching this expecting Mojo functionality out of Go High Level, it just doesn't exist. Not right now anyways. Knowing Go High Level, if it's something that's in demand enough, maybe someday. But for right now, there is the ability instead to create a queue of calls, create a queue of what they call manual actions, manual calls that you can then initiate a dialing session, and it'll call one at a time, but it will bring up the contact and their like notes and the contact information for you to be able to put notes in, for you to be able to change the opportunity pipeline, disposition the call, etc. All of that while you're in the dialing session. So then when you complete the call, disposition the call, put in your notes or whatever, it automatically starts dialing the next one. And so again, it saves you from having to manually enter those details. It saves you from having to go through and find each individual contact that you call. If you can get these all into this queue and start your dialing session, it's a very efficient way to complete your calls, complete outbound sales calls, which as much as loan officers don't like doing those, they are a necessary part of winning with marketing to loan officers, or marketing to real estate agents, or marketing to consumers for that matter. You got to make those outbound dials. And so anything that can help us overcome call reluctance is appreciated. And this is one of those things. You only have to press the start button once. You don't have to press it every single time. So what does this look like? Well, first off, what we're going to do is we're going to create this is not first off. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to create a smart list inside of contacts, and we're going to add all of those contacts to a dialing session. Now, in order to do this, there's not like a button in contacts that you can, where you select all your contacts and you can just push add to dialing session. So what you have to do is you have to create a workflow that creates the manual action, and that creates a manual action, and then add contacts to that workflow. If that sounds confusing, it really isn't. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Basically, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to create a workflow that creates our dialing session. So I'm going to show you the bare minimum that you can set this up with. And then I'm also going to explain to you how you can use this knowledge in your other workflows, in your other campaigns where you're following up with leads. So again, this one is just going to be, all we're going to do here is we're going to create a manual call action. Boom. That's it. Okay. No trigger. I'm going to name this workflow add to dialing session. Okay. We'll publish this. All right. Now we have that workflow published. Now, if we go into contacts, wait, let me make sure I can see on the dashboard. Okay, perfect. So this is where, when we add somebody to that dialing session, this is where it's going to show up. It'll show up on your dashboard under manual actions. You will see your total pending, and then it's going to tell you whether it's an SMS or a phone. So you can a phone call. So you can schedule manual SMS as well for yourself, manual text messages for yourself to execute as well. However, we're just talking about the phone functionality here so that we can create that dialer action that we're looking for. So this is where it's going to show up. This is where you're going to see if you have pending manual actions. Okay. So how we do this is we're just going to go into contacts. And what I would recommend is create a filter, create your smart list, right? If you look up here, this is our internal account. So this is what we use to manage our agency. And so you'll see the smart list that I've created in here. So we've got active core clients, contacts, pending core contacts, people that have requested a demo but have not scheduled a demo. So that's people that like filled out the form but didn't actually go through and select a time that worked for them. We have open 90-day possible, and there's more in here. Seen demo not closed. All these are filters. If I click on this, look over here, boom, I set up this filter and I get the ability to save it as a smart list down here. Use this smart list functionality. I talked about this 2 weeks ago on the live call as well. I'm going to take every opportunity that I can to tell you how awesome the smart list functionality in GHL is, because it is amazing. The ability to save filters and have these lists. Like if you used MailChimp or you used ActiveCampaign, then you understand how big of a pain in the ass it is to manage adding and removing people from a list and making sure that those actions are taking place at all the different times that you want to be able to do that. So you have 5 different subscription forms on your website. You need to set up each one of those subscription forms to add them to a list. What if you want to add them to multiple lists? And it's a nightmare. Okay. Whereas smart list is literally just a saved filter. So as long as you're passing the parameters that you want to filter by to create these lists, then these lists are going to be able to update themselves constantly. So anytime a contact gets added, it's going to look at all the fields, and based on the filters that you have set up in these smart lists, it'll automatically keep a tally, keep a roster of who fits within those filters, and it's called a smart list. So again, just going to put that, throw a little plug in there for smart lists again, because it's such a great functionality. All right, now let's say I want to create a dialing session for all of our pending accounts. Well, I can go in here. All right, so we have 33 contacts. So I'm going to select all 33 contacts. Actually, I'm only going to do 20 because I'm going to end up deleting these anyways. But if you want to add all of the people from the smart list, remember to click this button here. Okay, so now this is what I was talking about. This is where you do not have the button to create a manual call. There's no button right here to do that. So this is why anytime you want to take an action with a contact or add them to a specific, not even a workflow or campaign, but anytime you want to take an action that you don't see up here, then you can circumvent that by creating a workflow that performs that action and then adding them directly to the workflow. So we're going to go in here. What's our workflow? What did we call it? Dialing or something like that. Add to dialing session. Okay, we're going to add all at once. Action. So you can also set up a drip here, right? Let's say you have a list of like 800 contacts and you want to set up and you want to do 20 calls a day, right? And that's how you want to handle this. Well, then you could set this up and you could say 20 calls a day, right? Start on, what day do you want to start on? You want to start that on today. Batch quantity 20, repeat after 1 day. We only want to do this on Monday through Friday, and we only want this to process between, this hour and this hour. That's not necessary here, but just showing you that drip mode is so sick. No CRM that I've ever used has as easy of an interface to manage dripping contacts into automations as this interface. So big fan of this. Another plug here to give you another little tip there. But for this one, we're just going to do all at once. And what am I going to call this? I'm going to call this dialing power dialer demonstration. Now, all this is right here, all that action bar is it's just telling you to like label what you're doing right now. And the reason it's asking you to do that is so that if you go back and you look at the audit logs to see, let's say you're missing a contact and you want to figure out how that contact went missing. You're going to comb through the audit logs. Well, these audit logs will be labeled with whatever you put right here so that you can remind yourself, okay, I was doing this because I was demonstrating the power dialer or whatever it is. So power dialer demonstration, that's what we're going to use here. I'm going to add to that campaign. Now, remember, I don't really care who I added into this. Now I have all the contacts blurred out because I'm not actually going to perform any dialing right now, and it isn't performing any actions on its own. That workflow, all I had it do was create a manual action for me to call these leads. And so I'm not afraid of what's going to happen by adding 20 of these to the workflow at one time, because I know exactly what's in that workflow and what actions are going to be taken. But now if I go over here, you're going to see it added 20 to my total pending actions. Now I can filter these, right? If I filter this, these ones aren't. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Sorry, Miles. I thought these were going to assign these to me. They're going to assign them to whoever the lead is assigned to. So I'm going to have to go. So we'll go back in here. It's not a big deal. We're going to go in here. And we go to the manual actions and we go in here. All right, there we go. Boom, at workflow, add dialing session. I can see all those. Thank goodness, because now I can delete all of those. But basically what you're going to do here, all you have to do is click let's start, and then it's going to go from top to bottom. And it's going to go through each one of those contacts and give you the opportunity to disposition the call as whether or not they answered, add notes, all that stuff. I'm not going to demonstrate that on screen because I couldn't think of a way before the call, before the Zoom. Couldn't really think of a way of how we could demonstrate that without me actually calling people, which I don't want to do. So we are not going to demonstrate that piece, but just know this is where it is. You hit let's start. Now you're in the middle of that dialer functionality. It's going to go one by one. It's going to allow you to disposition the call, and then it's going to move on to the next one. Again, helps you kind of overcome call reluctance when you can have the, either do one big manual session like what we just did, where we just added a bunch of contacts manually, or you can set these up in your workflows as well, like your lead follow-up workflows. If you want to give yourself a manual action when following up with a realtor lead, for example, like, for our Google ads, for our Google pay-per-click leads, I'm not going to throw a manual action in there until they've engaged with me. If I'm a loan officer, until I've engaged with that individual, when it comes to internet leads, I don't need a manual action in there. But if it's a referral from a realtor, well, that's different, right? That's different. I probably need to make sure that I'm performing manual actions. Now, here's the caveat to including manual actions or manual calls, either manual calls or manual text messages. Here's the caveat to including those in your workflows. When you do this, the next step in the workflow, so let's say you have day one text message automatically, day one, 3 hours later, another text message automatically. And then day two, first thing in the morning, a manual call. Day two in the afternoon, another text message. Well, that text message, anything after that manual call is not going to take place until you complete the manual action, until it registers that you have completed the manual action in your queue. It will not allow you to move on to the next action. It won't go to that next text message. So that's the problem. That's the hang up when it comes to incorporating manual actions with your automated workflows, is like you have to be on it, actually executing those manual actions, or you're going to hold up the rest of your automation. Unless, like I said, it's something where you're reaching out to a referral from a real estate agent where you don't really care necessarily whether or not that You don't really care necessarily whether or not they get that, they get those automated text messages until you get them on the phone. If that's the case, that's exactly what it's there for. Otherwise, if you are going, oops, sorry, that got louder for a second. Otherwise, if you are going to, if you are going to leverage the manual actions and you want them to be a part of your lead follow-up, I would suggest using 2 different workflows so that all of your automated actions go, but and you can schedule your manual calls, but your automated actions won't be dependent on those manual calls. So that's something we've seen done before. So yeah, this is the power dialer functionality. Allie, Katie, have you guys, does this look familiar? Does this seem like something that you guys can have your clients using?
Yeah, I can see a huge value in that, just based on where this loan officer is right now and the old school technology that they're using, a lot of manual processes. So to have something like this really organize their time and effort efficiently, like you said, with those smart lifts, are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. And never did I think about putting any manual processes in my workflow. So lots of good information there.
Good. Glad to hear it. Like I said, you guys, I mean, obviously Todd gave us that topic ahead of time. He can't make it on the call. But you guys showed up, you guys are here. I want to make sure that you guys are getting some value out of this. So let me find the workflow that I just used so that I can delete these before I forget. What was it called again?
And where else have you used manual? Anywhere else you've used manual interventions in a workflow, just off the top of your head?
Not with mortgage lead follow-up. I mean, internally as an agency, yes. As far as managing communications within like a client onboarding workflow. So at the point that I see, at the point that loan officers, or I work with more loan officers that are using this to manage their like loans in process and the communication for their loans in process, that's where I see a lot of those manual actions becoming more and more handy. We do have clients that use a workflow for like weekly pre-qual calls or weekly shopping calls. So it's a workflow that it runs once a week. They're running a workflow once a week that is going to add how do they do it? It's going to be based on stale opportunity, I believe, is what the trigger is going to be. So like 7 days in this opportunity status. No, it's not. It's just a wait step. So when somebody gets added to the shopping category, so they're shopping for a home loan, then this workflow starts where it waits for every Friday and adds a manual action to call each lead in their shopping category so that they can reach out and say, hey, we've got, want to make sure that you're going out shopping this weekend, and that if you're going out shopping this weekend, that we've got you an updated pre-qual. Here are the documents that are expiring soon. What houses are on what houses are on your list to look at this weekend, or something to get them excited or something like that. We do see some of that. Okay, so again, I can't remember what I called this damn workflow. It wasn't schedule manual call. It wasn't power dialer. Damn it. All right. Well,
I promise I was paying attention. I don't remember what you called it either.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It's all right. We'll find out really quick. Let's see.
We can watch it back and.
Yeah, there you go. Add to dialing session. It was an A. I would have never found it. All right. So now we can go back to the dashboard, go to manual actions. Okay, this, and then I'm looking for add to dialing session. There we go. And I can go all the way down here and I can delete all. And that's what I want to do here. Okay, so that'll remove all of those. All right. So that is the power dialer. That is demonstrating the power dialer.